Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Financial Fridays. I know it's been a while, a couple of years since I've come to you, but now I have a new format. As most of you know, I have become a member of Ed Slott's Master Elite IRA program, so I'm one of his advisors, and I'm also one of David McKnight's Power of Zero Elite advisors. So the format, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about, read an email from Ed Slott's, the Ed Slott Report that we get a couple times a week. And then we also have a questions where financial advisors or consumers reach out to Ed Slott's team, known as Ed Slott Mailbag, and I'll go over that as well. Then I'll share with you the Investor Minute, which comes out every week. So I'll share that with you. Then I'll also share with you a concept from the Power of Zero, David McKnight's program. And then I'll close out with a little inspiration. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is share my screen here. And we're going to start out. The first topic is, sorry, the wrong screen. We're going to talk about the 5 common mistakes that you can make with your IRA and what you can do to fix it. This came out this week, this Wednesday. This is by Andy. Year after year, there's tons of mistakes that are made with your IRAs. And sometimes there's no fixing them, but other times we can do things to fix them. And now, so you'll also be ahead of the game so you could avoid making these mistakes that other people have made. So the 5 common mistakes. 1 is if you had rolled over a required minimum distribution. Well, RMDs, you cannot roll them over. Technically, the RMD has to come out first before you do an IRA rollover. If you do happen to roll over an RMD, it's considered an excess contribution, and the excess contribution rules must be applied, which means you have until October 15th of the year after the excess contribution to make that correction without that penalty. Prior to that deadline, the rolled over RMD must be withdrawn along with any earnings. There's no special tax forms that you have to fill out, and there's no penalty. Any earnings are taxable. And after that October 15th deadline, only the excess must be withdrawn and the earnings can remain. And what you'd have to do is file the IRS form 5329 and pay that 6% annual contribution penalty. Another 2 mistake is that you might have contributed to a Roth IRA for a child who has no earned income. I've seen this happen where many advisors think that, okay, just because you have kids, just open up a Roth IRA. Well, that's incorrect. You need to actually have earned income for that child for them in order to do a Roth IRA. So, and they could be eligible for either a traditional or a Roth contribution. If you make a contribution to any type of IRA for anyone who has no earned income, it's considered an excess contribution, and you have to follow the same excess contribution correction protocols outlined above. Number 3. Another common mistake is you took 2 IRA distributions with the intent to roll them both over. Okay. There's that once per rollover rule does not allow 2 separate IRA distributions to be rolled over within a 12-month period. Now, a rollover, what that means is that you actually physically receive that IRA, that money, and then you have 60 days to put it back into an IRA. Transfers where you do not take receipt, it goes from one custodian to another, that's allowed. So combining them into a single deposit won't work. So is there a fix? Well, if you're still within that 60-day period, one of the distributions can be rolled over. Usually a person would choose to put the larger of the 2 withdrawals back in. Since the other distribution cannot be rolled over, you'll be stuck with the taxes anyway, so might as well put it into a Roth IRA, assuming you're still within that 60-day rule. And this qualifies as a valid Roth conversion, and conversions do not count against that once per year rule. So that's how we could fix that. Number 4, non-spouse beneficiary tried to do a 60-day rollover with inherited IRA dollars. There is no fix for this scenario. This is what we call a fatal error. Non-spouse beneficiaries cannot do 60-day rollovers with inherited IRA dollars. If you take a distribution from your inherited IRA as a non-spouse beneficiary, taxes will be due. And those dollars cannot be rolled over, cannot be converted, or redeposited back into the same inherited IRA. So if you have an inherited IRA, just leave it as an inherited IRA and take your RMDs like you're supposed to. And number 5, taxes withheld on the Roth conversion if you're under 59.5. Well, this is a sneaky little mistake. Taxes withheld on a Roth conversion do not get converted. So if you're under 59.5, this is a problem. The taxes withheld are in fact a premature withdrawal, and you have that 10% penalty will be due on the money that you send to the IRS. However, if you catch it in time, there's still a fix. If it's still within 60 days, the amount withheld can be replaced with money from another account. Use the other dollars to make up the withholding. Put these makeup dollars into a Roth, and then the conversion will be made whole. Now, the original tax withheld will be a credit at the IRS. So if you do happen to do a Roth conversion under 59.5, make sure you pay attention. It's best to have money on the outside to pay those taxes. And then even if you do that too, you also want to get with your CPA, because now you'll have to probably adjust your estimated payment taxes as well. That's another little thing that sneaks up on people. But if you're 59.5 and you have the taxes withheld from your before you do your Roth conversion, right from the conversion, then you are okay. So those are the 5 common mistakes and how to fix them. So now let's go to the Slott mailbag. So this just came out yesterday, the Thursday, the 29th. So, and Andy, he answered the questions. So he works for Ed Slott. I call him all the time. As most of you know, if you're my clients, I'm like, hold on, let me check with Andy on that. So the one question is, how many times a year can a person do a Roth conversion? Well, it's unlimited. A person can do an unlimited amount of Roth conversions in a year. They don't account against that once per rollover rule that I told you. So that's not, you're not concerned about that. And each conversion in a calendar year will have the same start date for that 5-year conversion clock. So January 1st of that year. So multiple conversions in a single year will be combined, and be considered one big conversion for that 5-year conversion clock reporting. And the second question, can a qualified charitable distribution, also known as a QCD, be made from a 401k or a defined benefit plan? No. QCDs can only be made from IRAs and inactive SEP or simple IRAs. And a QCD cannot be done from any employer plans. However, employer plan dollars, like from a 401k, could be potentially rolled over into an IRA, and then the QCD can be completed. And a few more things about QCD. 1, the IRA owner must be at least 70.5 to do a QCD. The QCD cap for 2024 is $105,000, and that donation must be directly transferred from the IRA to the charity. And nothing can be received in return for this donation. So, well, that sums up the Ed Slott report. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me, Dawn@DS Financial Strategies. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to go over the investor minutes. I'll just read up notes here from my what is that called? Screen. So using economic data to predict the market. It's a waste of time. So more than 40 years ago, if you had a list of the most influential investors in America, Peter Lynch would have been near the top. From 1977 to 1990, he ran Fidelity's Magellan Fund, and during this span, compounded capital at a rate of more than 29%. He achieved this feat by managing to choose stocks for his fund that turned out to outpace the market as a whole. Now, Lynch had 3 things going for him. He ran the fund during an era characterized by tremendous growth, including 2 significant corrections. He knew that analyzing big economic trends would not enable him to predict what the markets would do in the future. And he had the good sense to step down from his role as the fund manager while he was still on top. Now, he had a famous quote about that second item. If you spend 13 minutes a year on economics, you've wasted 10 minutes. Now, you might think the opposite of that is true. After all, if you carefully study the mountains of data and the leading economic indicators and note how the markets respond each time, when you see those same conditions occur, you can pretty much be sure that what the market will do, right? Unfortunately, this premise sounds so true. And that's what lures so many investors into believing that they will somehow crack the code and be successful at timing the market. A stock analyst who writes about the market under the pen name Courage and Conviction recently looked at how wrong the big name forecasters have been about the market over the past 2 years. In 2020, the median forecast for the S&P 500 index was a gain of 7.5%. It dropped by more than 19%. Stung by that, which we know as recency biasy, for 2023, the forecast is predicted modest to no growth. The index gained more than 24%. One anonymous analyst writes, if highly paid Wall Street economists can't really, or at least certainly not on a consistent basis, predict the broader stock market, then why do individual investors pretend that they can? Courage and Conviction also adds that most of these experts have PhDs from leading schools, they have high IQs, and access to the best information available. However, you don't need a crystal ball to succeed in investing. Empirical evidence has shown that over long periods of time, the U.S. stock market has been an exceptional place to compound investor savings and outpace inflation. So knowing this, the prudent investor will have a long-term view when saving for retirement. This means accepting the short-term volatility as a normal aspect of participating in the market. And he or she will work with a trusted advisor who can create a plan for their specific timeline and financial situation, helping to keep them on track when these short-term concerns arise. So that's our investor minutes. And now I want to go back and I want to share my screen. I want to share my whiteboard. And we're going to talk about the 6 streams of tax-free income that we like to talk about in the Power of Zero. So let me just get my pen here. So we have 6 streams. I know my handwriting is like chicken scratch. Retirement income. The more you have, the better, because contrary to popular belief, you can't just have one stream of tax-free income in retirement. It takes multiple streams to help get you to the 0% tax bracket. So one is the Roth IRA. So if you are under the income limits and contribute to this, I recommend you take advantage of that. 2, the Roth 401k. 3, Roth conversions. 4, RMDs up to your standard deduction. That's a great one. Let me just start that, because you put money in, it goes in tax-free, grows tax deferred, and if it's under the standard deduction, it'll come out tax-free. So that's what we call triple tax-free. The next one, number 5, is a LIRP, known as a life insurance retirement plan. And number 6, Social Security. If you're able to keep your provisional income below certain limits, you could have your Social Security come out tax-free. So if you have all these streams of tax-free income, guess what tax bracket you're in? You're in the 0% tax bracket. So that's what I like to do for my clients, showing them how to retire in the 0% tax bracket. So if you want help and you want to learn more about creating multiple streams of tax-free income in retirement for you, again, feel free to reach out to me. Go to my website, dsfinancialstrategies.com, or you can email me, dawn@dsfinancialstrategies.com. So let me stop sharing that. So now let's talk about some inspiration. If you have read my book, Manifest and Invest, you know I love to inspire people to help them reach their goals. So this week, one of my friends shared with me something she had channeled for me, and I'm going to apply it to money. Hers was, I am worthy to feel good all the time. So we could take that one step further and going into handle on money. I am worthy to receive money gently and easily. I am worthy to have a luxurious lifestyle and have an abundance of money flowing to me from all sources. I am worthy to retire at or an increased standard of living that I'm accustomed to. So when you're feeling down, you hear all this noise in the media about things going, just know, again, that's why you have a financial plan. and stick to it. If you don't have one, feel free to reach out to me and use these phrases or something else that's uplifting for you. Because again, money is not just the numbers, it's also the mindset. And I want you to have that positive mindset to train your brain to expect abundance and to expect that everything is always working out for you. That's another one. So you can write that everything is always working out for me. Well, I hope you love this new format of Financial Fridays with Dawn. If you do, I'd love to hear your comments. Reach out to me. Again, I am here to help you and enjoy the rest of your day.